you play guitar and sing, then you probably wind up playing by yourself a lot. There are a lot of gigs where it's just you and the guitar, and so you might want to get the fullest sound possible out of your guitar. There's a way to do that, but you kind of have to open it up a little bit. You have to play a little bit differently. Right now, this guitar is in an alternate tuning called DADGAD. From the top to the bottom of the strings are D, A, D, G, A, D. And that's really cool, and you get this really full, big sound. Only problem with that, you have to retune your whole guitar. So unless you have a whole set where you're going to do 5-6 songs and then take a break, all in that tuning, then you might not want to use this as the best option. Let me show you option number 1. You can take a regular guitar in standard tuning, use a capo. You gotta turn this thing around, right? Turn this thing around. I don't know if you've noticed, there are some people out there, they make a cut capo where it's like this, but it's only partially there. You can spend your money on that if you want to, or you can just get a regular one like this. This is a Kaiser, and you can turn this thing around backwards. Watch this. If I put it on the 2nd fret, it's only going to mash down 3 strings there. It's going to skip the top one. It's going to leave it open. Now look, if I want to make an E chord, it's 1 finger, and that's almost the same as the DADGAD tuning right there. It's the same full sound right there. 1 finger on the 2nd fret relative to the capo on the 3rd string. That's an E chord when you're on the 2nd fret. If you just 1 finger up top, now we're making an A, right? It's really easy to get this full bright sound. Now you can do this partial capo, and you can just play regular chords. I can play a regular D and leave that top string open, and it still gets a fuller sound, but you really get a full sound if you just play the 1 finger version. So there's D, and all you have to do, half capo on the 2nd, and then the 2nd fret relative to the capo, that makes an E chord. It's really a D relative to the capo, but if you're using the capo, for every 2 frets, it's going to give you 1 letter higher than you're actually playing. I'm playing a D. It's sounding as an E. So there's, let's just go through relative to the capo. Here's D. Here's G. And you can do the whole thing. But see, that's different than, it's the same chord. Here's G. There's G again, but a whole different sound this time. Now, if you want to play C, now that gives it a little bit different ring. You might want to add in the 3rd finger here. That's a good sound. Or you can do this one, or you can do your regular C. You still get a full sound. So G, C, D. It's a really good sound. Now, if you want to play a minor chord, a little bit difficult. You got to kind of reach around the capo here. This would be an E minor relative to the capo. You kind of get a different sound on the bottom end. Again, this works best if you're playing by yourself. If you're playing with a band, it might not jam well with some of the other chords that are going on, the other instruments. But if you're playing by yourself, it doesn't matter. It sounds a really good sound. It's not your typical E minor right here. It has this kind of open, suspended kind of sound, but it's really good. Now, you can... So let's go back to not relative to the capo. So this is what's actually sounding. Here's your E. You can play a B down here, kind of that bar chord with the bottom 2 strings open. So I'm on the 7th fret, 9th fret, and the 8th fret. That's a really good sound. That's a B. There's an A. Really good sound. So that's one trick to really opening up your guitar. It works great for songs that are in E. So if you're actually in E, that works great. You can also put another capo on. So let's say I want to play, say you want to play a song in F sharp. Well, you put your regular capo on the 2nd fret. You put your partial capo on the 4th. Now when you play that D chord, it's going to be an F sharp. You still get that full open sound. That's a B now. Really cool. You also get this other chord right here. It's a really fun tuning. Now, let's say you do have time to detune your guitar. This works great with standard tuning, gives you that open sound with just the cut capo. But if you do have time to do a whole set, you can tune your guitar to DADGAD, which is D-A-D-G-A-D. So you want to tune the top string down. You want to you leave these the same. You go down to your B string. You want to tune that down to an A. You can just let it sound with your A string and then tune it to it. And then your D string or your E string, your high E, you want to tune that to your D. You want to go down again. So you're really just changing 3 strings. Now your D chord is just right here on the 2nd fret on the 3rd string. That's your D chord. This works really well for songs that are actually in D, or you can capo on the 1st fret and get an E flat, or 2nd fret and get an E, or if you want to go all the way up to F, you can go on the 3rd fret. It works really good for songs in D, E flat, E, or F. So if you have 5 or 6 songs that are in that key, use this tuning. Or you can have multiple guitars at your gig, and you have one in open tuning, one in standard tuning, and you can change out more quickly that way. But there's your D. Now you want to make a G. You leave that 1st finger on that string and just slide up to the 4th fret, and you want to put your 2nd finger on the 6th string on the 5th fret, and you're kind of muting that 5th string. That's a really nice G sound. So you go from D to G. You want to make an A, just move it up 2 frets. Same shape, just move it up. So D, G, A. Now if you want to make a B minor, slide it up 1 fret, but you're going to switch fingers. You're going to go to the 3rd finger on the 9th fret on the 6th string. Now you got a B minor. Now they're kind of suspended, open chords. Once again, it works really well if you're the only one playing. If you try to play with a band, it may or may not mix well with other instruments that are playing, but it works brilliantly if it's just you singing, or if there's just one melody instrument playing with you. So you got D, 2nd fret, got the 2nd finger on the 5th fret. Now that's a G, A on the 7th fret, and then you switch to go up 1 fret. But now I'm going to have the 3rd finger on the 9th fret. That's a B minor. So you get this really cool sound. It's a cool sound to go from a D over F sharp. If you put your 3rd finger on the 4th fret up here, D over F sharp to G, and then you go from B minor back to A. A really cool sound. Now a lot of songs might have an E minor in it, so you just come down here to the 2nd fret on your top string, and the one right below it as well, also on the 2nd fret. There's an E minor. It's got an A note in there, so it's a little bit different than your regular E minor. Also got a D note in it, but it sounds really good in this open tuning setting. You get this droning kind of sound where there's always something happening. There's no dead space when you're switching chords. See, everything's ringing. Everything's ringing. It fills the space. There's no, even as you're moving and switching chords, there's still sound going on. If you're playing by yourself, it really fills the room. It's a wonderful feeling to just get all your sound out there into that room. I want to show you one more tuning that's not quite as open, but it still sounds good. So let's say you've got a song that's in G and you really want to use an open tuning. The tunings that I just showed you, that works well for D and E, maybe F or F sharp, but if you want to go all the way to G, I recommend this tuning. I call it the Jars of Clay tuning. If you've ever heard of that band, they used to do all kinds of songs in this tuning. It's kind of an open E, so you have E, A, B, E, B, E. So this middle set of strings and the bottom set of strings are kind of mirroring each other there. So E, A, B, E, B, E. And it gives you these 1 and 2 finger chords. Once again, that's the beauty of these open tunings, is that you can just really work on the rhythm. You're only moving 1 or 2 fingers up and down on the fretboard, and it sounds really good if you're playing by yourself. So you capo on the 3rd fret if you want to play G. So your G chord is just 1 finger right there on the 5th string, 2nd fret relative to the capo. There's your G. You want to make a C? Just move it down 1 string. So the 4th string, 2nd fret, there's a C. Now if you want to make a D, move it back up to the 5th string, and then add your ring finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. There's a D. So you got G, C, D. Really cool sound. That's just G to C. And there's your D again. If you want to do a minor, you can move it up. There's also one up here. That's the 12th fret on the guitar. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and the 9th fret relative to the capo. You can add 3 fingers. You're on the 6th string, the 4th string, and the 2nd string. That's kind of an E minor sound. You can start there and bring it down. A little bit out of tune, but you get the idea. So the E minor, there's a D with 3 fingers. You could do a C there. It doesn't quite sound as good, but E minor, D, now we're at G. There's that C again. That's a fun tuning as well. I want to show you one more tuning. So you've got your DADGAD tuning. If you take that G string and just move it down half a step. So move it down a half step. Now you've got D, A, D, F sharp, A, D. This is a true open D. So if you want to play a D, you don't have to match anything with this hand. You just strum it. There it is. It's really a cool sound. So you could make chords by just barring the whole thing. It's kind of hard, but you could do it. It's the easiest way to make chords. You could get a slide, and so open is D. If you go on the 5th fret, that's G. 7th fret is A. So you could play a whole song that way. But you can make kind of some better sounding chords here. All right, so there's your D, right? And if you put your 2nd finger on the 5th fret on the 6th string, and then you kind of stack your 4th and 3rd finger below it. So you got 5th finger, 6th string, skip a string, and go to the 4th string on the 5th fret with your ring finger, and put your pinky on the 5th fret. Now you've got a G. So D, and you can move that up 1, and you've got an A. So D, G, A. Now move it up 1 more, and you're going to switch your pinky, take it off, and put your 1st finger on the 8th fret on the 3rd string. Now you got a B minor. So Mumford & Sons uses this tuning a lot. You can get some cool sounds out of it. I hope you'll give this a try, and really let those strings ring. You can play with some enthusiasm and some gusto, and it really fills the room. Keep playing.